Welcome to the Special Olympics Michigan Return to Play training. We are all so excited to get started again, but we want to make sure we do so safely. To help do that, we're asking that you do your part and make sure that you are able to abide by the protocols and code of conduct that Special Olympics has put in place. During this training, we will discuss the steps that coaches, athletes, and volunteers will need to take in order to participate in any in-person activities, including educational trainings, code of conduct, and safety measures coaches will need to implement at practice. Before anyone actually meets in person, there are a few trainings and forms that must be completed. The first two trainings are the Special Olympics COVID-19 education course and Return to Play training. To access these courses, in your web browser, go to learn.specialolympics.org. Once you are at the site, you will need to register or log in. If you've done protected behaviors in the past couple of years, you do already have a login, so you should already be registered. Once you're logged in, simply find the course titled Coronavirus Outbreak, What You Need to Know, and Return to Play training. Keep in mind these are two separate trainings. The first will cover important facts about the coronavirus, including symptoms, how it spreads, steps you can take to protect yourself, and what to do if you think you might have the coronavirus. The Return to Play training covers a lot of the protocols and steps that coaches should take in order to provide a safe return to play experience. Once you've completed your trainings, you will email a copy of your certificates to your regional office. The next step as you prepare to return to play is the COVID-19 Participant Code of Conduct and Risk Assessment Form. The Code of Conduct states that you understand you could get coronavirus through sports, training, competition, or any group activity at Special Olympics, and that you are choosing to participate at your own risk. By signing the Code of Conduct, you are also agreeing to take steps to help keep yourself and others safe, including staying at home if you have any symptoms, participating in temperature screenings and symptom questionnaires at every practice, wearing a face mask while at Special Olympics activities, and practicing proper hand washing. The Code of Conduct must be signed by all athletes, coaches, and volunteers. If an individual does not sign the Code of Conduct, they will not be allowed to participate in any Special Olympics activities. The Code of Conduct is available at somi.org/resources. During Special Olympics Michigan's first phase of return to play, group size should be limited to no more than 10 individuals. That includes coaches, volunteers, and athletes. Programs should still try and adhere to the coach-chaperone ratio of 4:1, meaning you should have no more than 8 athletes and 2 coaches or chaperones at your practices. Keep in mind that group size restrictions could increase or decrease at any time based on state or Special Olympics restrictions. Any changes will be communicated with the areas as they happen. After teams have successfully implemented the first step of return to play for at least 4 weeks and have had no cases of COVID-19, they are able to advance to step 2. During the second step of return to play, teams are able to have up to 25 people in one location at a time. If they are changing sport seasons, coaches must submit a new roster to their field service representative that lists the names of all of the athletes, unified partners, coaches, and chaperones that will be attending practices. Make sure that all athletes returning to play have a current physical on file. If an athlete's physical is expired, they must get it renewed before attending practices. Any area interested in hosting a regional event for up to 50 people may do so with approval from your field service representative. Teams may not advance to step 2 without approval from Special Olympics Michigan. Moving on to preparing your venue. Preparing the venue to safely welcome participants is vital. Coaches should arrive early to prepare the space. Start by ensuring that the venue is disinfected, especially the bathrooms and other high-touch areas. Wear gloves for all tasks in the cleaning process, including disinfecting areas and handling trash. After disinfecting your venue, we recommend hanging signs reminding athletes and volunteers to follow social distancing rules, wear their masks, and to wash their hands often. If individuals are taking public transportation or carpooling to practice, we strongly recommend they wear a face mask while doing so. Regardless, once they arrive to the venue, they must have a face mask on. Coaches should try to stagger arrival times to avoid crowds or congestion in the entrance area. This could mean that athletes arrive at 5-minute intervals, or that athletes are instructed to wait in their vehicles until the coach signals them to enter. As athletes arrive, make sure to check that they have a full water bottle, as they will not be able to share and drinking fountains should not be used. Prior to entering any activity, practice, event, or gathering, all participants, including the coach and volunteers, must participate in an on-site screening. It is important to create a safe screening area. Here are a few tips on how you can create a safe space. Create a single point of entry. One entryway helps ensure that all participants are screened before interacting with each other. Use chalk, tape, cones, or other markers to indicate 6 feet per physical distancing. And lastly, set up a hand sanitizer station at the entryway and require all participants to use it as they enter. Upon arrival, a volunteer should fill out a roster, which will include the participant's name, contact information, temperature, answers to all the screening questions, and the outcome of the screening. For instance, can they participate or have they been isolated and sent home? If you choose to have participants sign themselves in, make sure to bring enough pens so that each person has their own. Make sure to keep all of the sign-in sheets in case a participant is later found to have COVID-19 and contact tracing is necessary. Coaches must also submit copies of their sign-in sheets. These must be turned in weekly by 8 a.m. Monday morning. The screening questions will include, in the last 14 days, have you had contact with someone who has been sick with COVID-19? Have you had a fever in the last week of 100.4 or higher? Do you have a cough or difficulty breathing? Do you have any other signs or symptoms of COVID-19, such as loss of taste, smell, fatigue, or headaches? After answering the screening questions, you will conduct temperature checks using a thermometer. If the participant has a fever of 100.4 or higher, you should wait 5 minutes and retest the participant. If a participant answers yes to any questions, or if they have a temperature of 100.4 or higher, they must be isolated from the group and sent home if possible. Participants should advise their transportation to wait 10 minutes after they get dropped off, just in case they do not pass the on-site screening tests. If they took public transportation or have to wait for a ride to return home, they should wait in a designated isolation area. The coach may provide individual drills and exercises for the athlete to do while waiting in the isolation area. Participants that show symptoms of COVID-19 must be symptom-free for 7 days before returning to activity, or they must provide a note from the physician stating that they may return to Special Olympics activities. If a participant tests positive for COVID-19, they must provide a clearance note before returning. Any participants that report or show symptoms or answer yes to any of the screening questions should be advised to see a healthcare provider. We know it is difficult, but coaches must also communicate and enforce new practice rules, such as no fist bumps, high fives, hugs, or huddles. Instead, challenge your team and athletes to come up with a new celebration technique, such as a team cheer, expression, or air fives. All participants should come with their own supplies, such as water bottles, and cannot share masks, water bottles, towels, or uniforms. Sharing of equipment should be limited or avoided. Any equipment that is shared must be disinfected between uses as well as at the end of practice. Masks must be worn during arrival, departure, and breaks. They do not need to be worn during active exercise. However, coaches should instruct athletes on how to cover their face when they cough, sneeze, or yawn. After doing so, athletes should be instructed to wash or sanitize their hands. Coaches should stagger water breaks as to avoid crowding. Bathroom breaks should be given one at a time. When assessing injury or providing care, coaches should make sure to wear a mask and gloves and practice universal precautions. After an injury assessment or treatment, make sure to wash your hands. Make sure to leave time in your practice for a cool down. Heavy breathing and sweat can pass particles containing COVID-19, so athletes should have their breathing slowed and heart rate back to normal before entering an enclosed space, like a car or a bus. When leaving practices, coaches should stagger practice departure to avoid congestion in the parking lot. Instruct parents and caregivers to wait in their cars. Participants should wear their face masks and wash or sanitize their hands as they leave practice. Finally, the coach or volunteer should sanitize all equipment used.